Okay, so now we're gonna go ahead and start working on our view model. Let's go ahead and delete this. Okay, so we know this works. And we're gonna start putting the stuff in our view model, and then we're gonna implement it from the view model. So we're going to right now we're just gonna go ahead and get the function working, but we're not going to use our um uh, should I start with so yeah, so we're gonna do this a little bit different than we did last time, right? When we did MVVM, we are going to show, we're gonna do this using our dependency manager, right? So usually we have a view model, we create an instance of a networking manager, right? We usually have, and yeah, we create an instance of our networking manager in our view model. But we're not gonna do that this time. We're going to have the instance of our networking manager passed to the view model. Hold on. So here's how we're gonna do it, right? Check this out. Oh my god, stop. Var networking service, right? Networking, and we're gonna create, well, actually, you know something? This is what we're gonna do. We're gonna do it without dependency management first, because I have to illustrate the difference. Networking service, because you guys have to see this, right? Networking service, right, is of type networking service, right? And that's what hold up, main view model has no initializers. Oh yeah, sorry. Yeah. Oh my god. Okay, yeah. So there we go. And these errors should go away, right? And of course, I don't know why I put a B there, right? That doesn't make sense. All right. So now we have our networking service. Okay. And now we're going to go ahead and we're going to create another variable for our list observable object, right? When I say observable object, I am referring to, where's my models? Observable object, this, right? And you can go back to some previous videos where I touch upon how to do this, right? Creating an observable object. And this is what we're going to use to sync. And refers to reactive programming. And we sync with our table view so that whenever our view model is updated, our table view is updated. So let's go back here to our view model. Var, I'm gonna call this list, right? And we're gonna say observable object, right, of type an array of string, right? Again, this is I'm referencing generics here. Observable objects. And what is this? Empty, right? Okay, there we go. Now this should go away. Okay, yes. So now let's go ahead and start using, let's go ahead and start validating our input fields. We're gonna have a function, and this function fetches a list, right? So this function fetches a list, right? Func. What? Jesus. Ah! Func. Fetch list for table view, right? Search field input the optional string, right? completion, completion at escaping, right? And this should be type results. Again, we're returning an array of string, right? And array of string and of type error, right? And then this should say, we should do it like that. Okay. All right. So now we have this done. Now we're gonna check our field, right? So again, search field, right? So we're gonna check this to make sure that we are actually passing something. And we're gonna say guard let okay, guard let search field input equal search field inputs dot replace occurrences of, right? And this is what we're going to use to check to make sure that we sometimes in our field we can lead with white spaces. We're removing the white spaces. That's what we're doing with this, right? With this regular expression, right? So we're gonna say right here, we're gonna say this caret symbol and backspace s plus, right? And we're gonna replace this with nothing, right? Right? And of course, comma, excuse me, 17 options, right? And our options dot regular expression, right? Since this is a guard statement, else, right? We want to return, and we got to have something that goes here. I'm going to say completion. I don't think this will ever be executed. Dot failure. Search input error. Dot invalid inputs. This will never be executed. What this does just removes. Removes the white space in the front, right? I'm getting a warning here because the search input field needs to be used. It will. Just give me a minute, right? We're also gonna guard. We're going to make sure that it's not just it's so we're moving the white spaces from the front of any characters, but now we're also making sure that it's not plain empty, right? Because if it's plain empty, we want to stop, right? So guard search input field is not equal to empty. Okay, else, right? Return, stop. Return, and let's see. Completion, right? Dot failure. Okay, search input error dot empty input. Okay, so now we'll make sure of that. Okay, guard. We want to make sure that we're not. We want to trim the characters, right? Trim the characters right here. Search input field, search field inputs dot trimming characters in dot white space, right? White spaces, okay. Dot is empty, right? So else, and so first we're removing leading white spaces. Now we're trimming other white spaces, not just the leading, right? Okay. Else, return. We basically want to make sure that there aren't white spaces in the middle of it, right? So the first one just removes it. This just removes it. This one's just testing, right? And we're making sure there are, there it's just not white spaces. So this being empty is different from it being just a text field full of white spaces, right? It looks the same on the outside, but they're different. So you have to test for both. Okay. So I'm gonna say return, right? And then I'm gonna say completion dot failure dot search input error dot only white spaces, right? And then we're going to guard here. We're going to say guard let URL. So now we're going to build our URL, fetch complete URL. Before we move further though, let's go ahead and write that function down here. Fetch complete URL, right? So fetch complete URL is a, well, this way, these kids, I hear them outside. Let's do this. And this is going to be a private function, fetch complete URL, FETCH URL, or I'm gonna say URL key, right? Which is URL query name, right? And that is one of our enumerations, right? URL query name. Let's go ahead and just jump definition real quick. This is it right here. It's either short form or long form, okay? Again, I've gone over the API in another video. We've done it. Basically, I pass something in short form and it returns the long form, right? So that's what we're doing. We're passing the short form URL query name, right? And the value. And the value should be of type string, right? And if you really need to look at this some more, again, I have the complete project that you can download from GitHub and comb through the code yourself. Okay, return, right? So let's see, return, right? I return, let's see, URL, return URL, but look, you know something, return nil for now, because I need to write some functionality in here. And let's see, so guard, let URL L equal URL component constants, component constants right here, dot create with components, right? Right? Query parameters, right? And the parameters are, I'm going to say key, right? Which is one of the values we're passing in. Key dot raw value colon value, right? And that right there is that. And then we say dot is optional, right? URL. else, right? Return nil. Otherwise, we're going to return what? URL. Right? And so good. This is the functionality we need. So now we're going to go back and we're going to say URL equals, right? Oh, let me make sure I have this in the right. Yeah. URL equals fetch URL, fetch complete URL, right? And the key is dot SF. The value is search field input, right? And we want to do this else. We're going to return here, right? And we're going to say, let me go back here. Completion dot failure dot search input error dot no text field found. Okay. And then I do this just in case. I always do something in case a field is missing. Someone comes and makes a modification to the code, changes the name of a field, you know, or modifies the view model functionality in a way. We need to see what the problem is, right? So I test for pretty much everything. Yeah. So now, and what we're going to do now is we're just going to print the URL, right? URL. Let me go ahead and do this. Oh, colon, right? URL, right? And so now we have that. And so now we can say networking service dot fetch API response, right? URL dot completion, right? Result, right? In, and now we have our networking service, right? And we're going to say switch results, right? Case, and we're going to test. I like to test for failure first, right? So if we fail, I'm going to say let error. This is the variable that will hold our error. And what am I going to do with it, right? I'm going to pass it back to my completion handler up here, right? Error completion dot failure and the error name, right? Because it, you know, it's the same type, right? And but we still have this error, so we're not complete, right? Because we have to do a case for success, right? Dot, I'm gonna say I'm gonna say acronym object, acronym object, right? And I'm gonna do this, and we'll say completion dot success, right? Let me see something real quick. Completion dot success. Well, actually, we're not gonna pass back the acronym object, right? We're not doing that. We know that, right? We are passing back a list, right? So what I do now is I have a function. We need to use a function. I need to write another function called fetch list from acronym object. And what it does is it parses through the acronym object and gets the list that's going to populate our table view. Right? So let's do that. So give me a second. So here we go. I'm gonna go down here and I'm gonna say again another private function, right? In this private function, we'll say again private func, right? Fetch list from acronym object, right? And I'm gonna say ACROBJ, right? And this is a type acronym object. Acronym object, and then of course we have a completion, COMPLETION, right? And it's of type, it is an escaping closure, right? And we say this, right? Because we're returning void. And we return a string and an error, right? Result type, results, right? Type array of string, and our error is of type error, right? And that's how we do that. Okay, so now we have this. Okay, so now we have to do, I'm going to create a list, var list, and it's going to be empty. Okay. Okay, equals, it's going to be an empty, Jesus Christ. Right? Empty array of string. Nothing in there. Okay, now we have that. We're going to say if, right? Acro object, because I need to do this. Acro object dot count is greater than 0. Why do I do that? Because we're going to throw an error, an out of range error, if we get nothing back, right? When we put in whatever input we have in our text field, we're going to get an out of range error if we get nothing back. So to avoid that, we got to make sure that the count is greater than 0, right? So now we've done that, and then we'll say for item in ACR objects, and we're going to take the first thing in this array, right? And dot LFS. Okay. Right? And we have that. And then we'll say list dot append, right? And then say item dot LF, right? Okay, now we have that. So now we finished all this, and we're going to finish off with our completion, and it should say dot success list. And there we go. So now we have something that returns a string, an array of strings, an array of words from our results. Okay. So now I'm going to go back up here, right? And I'm going to say self, right? Because we're inside of a closure, self dot fetch list of acronym objects, right? Let me just make sure. Fetch list from acronym object. List from acronym objects. Okay. And give me a second. Oh, Jesus. Okay. Fetch list from acronym objects, and what we have, ACR acronym objects, because they're completion, right? And I'm going to just call this res, right? Okay, now we're going to say switch res, and we're gonna we test for case failure and case success, right? Right, so we're gonna say switch Oh, sorry, wrong one. Case dot failure is, I mean, we're not passing nothing, right? Right, and we're just gonna say, I'm just gonna just do something. Print error. So error. I just say some kind of error. Some kind of error, right? But we really need to say case dot success, right? And success should be we say let's output. Okay. Let output. That should be our success. Let output colon, and we're going to say self dot list, right? List is the observable object that's way up here, right? But of course, we can't access it directly. We access the value, its value property, right? Equals output. It'd probably be better if I just name this list as well, right? List. So self.list, of course, is different variable than regular list, which is named here. Okay. And this should do it, right? This should be what does it, right? So now what we will do is we will go to our network, our view model, right? Go to our view model and access this fetch list for table view. We'll do all this in the view controller. So let's just test it just to see if it's working. So did I even create an instance of the view model? No, I didn't. So here we go. Check this out. Var, right? View model equals main view model, right? Right. And now here we're going to say view model dot fetch list, right? And what this is going to be is search input field dot text, right? And of course, this could be optional. So I'm going to explicitly unwrap it. The collection is here, right? Result, right? And we're going to say switch results again, case dot failure. I prefer to do let's error. I'll just say error. I'll give it wrap. Print. Okay. Say error colon, right? Error dot localized description. Yeah, whatever, just to make it more readable. Case dot success, right? And we'll say let output. Let's output. This should be the list, right? And I'm just gonna print it, right? I'm not even trying to get it in. We'll say print output. And output should be like a list, right? So actually, instead of doing this, I'm gonna say, I'm gonna do this, right? Instead of saying this, I'm going to say this. Just put a value in there. AX. It's the value. And let's see if we get something back. Okay. And I'm going to say this, this, and we're coming back. And we get our data back, but why aren't we getting? So let me see. We definitely getting data back, but we aren't getting back a parsed list. Give me a second. Okay, so maybe I didn't. What I need to do was literally print the list, right? So I think here in the view controller, so here's what I need to do. I'm going to go to the view model right here, and I'm literally not printing it, right? So let's see. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to print, right? I'm going to say print list observable object, list observable object, so that we know that this is actually set, right? Okay. And we're going to say self, no, not search, self dot list dot value. So I'm going to say this right here, this, and yes, list observable object, and this is the list. This is the stuff that's going to populate our table view. So we're getting back data. We're getting back data. But we're gonna clean this up and get it to where we're using reactive programming and get it talking to our table view, right? And then after that, we're going to talk about the problem. It functions, but it's not professional level because everything is tightly coupled, and we're going to fix that. So on to the next.